What's going on, y'all? It's Kilo, and we are back for another episode of the Regular Podcast on the Regular Network.
It's real.
What's his name again? Kilo?
Shout out my Kilo, man. Kilo in the mother building.
All right, what's good, y'all? How we doing? How we doing out there? Recording this on Saturday, March 14th. We gonna put a little date timestamp on it just to get it established. If I say anything that might sound a little bit outdated, hey, I decided to record today. So, hey, it is what it is. How y'all doing out there? How was everybody's week? Before we get started, please make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment your thoughts below. Make sure you share this video if you can. If you feel like I said something cool or not cool, take a little screen record of it. Put it on your social media. Make sure you tag the Regular Network on Instagram, or the THEE Regular Podcast on Instagram, or the Regular Podcast on TikTok. Make sure y'all tag me in that, or tag the page in that. Is everybody cool? How y'all, anybody got anything to report to me before I get started? I know I'm talking like I'm live or something, like I'm getting actual feedback from y'all. Benny has been telling me we need live back. I got you. Time is an issue right now. I'm getting busier, but I'm still trying to remain consistent, at least on this part of the podcast. The TikTok algorithm has finally been kind to me on my new channel, my new TikTok page. It finally let a few people. So I'm getting some engagement on one of my videos where I was talking about Iran. So shout out to everybody that's been finding me and discovering me from that Iran video and from the Shahrazad Ali video. That video got like 50,000 views. But a lot of times if I post up somebody else's content, I don't really count that because that's not me talking. That's not my opinions. That's just me posting up somebody else because I thought they had a good opinion on something. So I don't really count somebody else's words. But it is on my page though, right? So I have some work I need to do. I started, I'm taking on some side work to do some security installation and stuff like that in the Atlanta area. So if you need some access control, if you're a property manager or something, you need some access control installed, you know what I'm saying, tap in with me. I can get that set up for you. But I'm supposed to be doing it today. But it turns out that there's an event going on down there. So the HOA president was like, hey, can we move the work to another day? I'm like, cool, that's fine with me. So we're gonna try to add that to the regular network's portfolio. All right. The DIY video will come soon for that work. Now, the first thing I want to start with is Love is Blind. I know I have never talked about Love is Blind on this show before, but I need to talk about it because now we're getting into the territory where I realize this show is propaganda. This show is propaganda. I'm not even going to the fact of whether or not it's real and these people are actors or not actors. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what it seems to me like the aim of the show is. I watched a few different seasons. I didn't watch all of them, but I watched enough to know where I stand on my opinion. I feel like this show is interracial relationship propaganda. And that's not to say all the relationships on the show are interracial. But I do believe that the goal at some point morphed into let's promote interracial couples. I just feel like that. Now, I feel like there's evidence of it, though. And I feel like the motive behind it comes from Nick Lachey's wife, Vanessa Lachey, being the product of an interracial couple herself. And a lot of times when people mix with white or are mixed with white, they consider themselves to be not white, right? So she is a mix between white and Filipino, or white is not a race, white is not a nationality, but she's Asian and white. So I think she sees herself as a Filipino woman. Her mom was from the Philippines and her dad is from Cleveland, Ohio. The wife, I'm talking about Vanessa, right? So it just feels to me like there's a little bit of promotion, just a little bit of extra attention going towards pushing this idea of somebody with a white person. You see what I'm saying? I'm just thinking now, I don't think there's been a single like black and Asian couple. There hasn't been a single black and Hispanic or black and Latino couple on the show. Not that got covered on TV. So it seems like they keep wanting to promote something in white. whatever that something else is. But it seems like they just keep doing that. So I think Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey are considered an interracial couple. And it seems like that's just what they keep on pumping. The crown jewel of the show is the first couple that they always show from the first season, Cameron and Lauren, right? That's the black woman from Detroit that was living in Atlanta, and that's the white man that she was with, right? Two successful people in their own right. Then they get together, black woman, white man. That's just that's the height of what interracial couples like they want to promote. They want to promote black women with white men, right? There's another married couple from that season, but they are barely ever talked about, right? And it's a white couple, fully white couple, white man, white woman. They are rarely ever talked about. They never do interviews. They never get brought up. They don't even get invited to the damn reunions. None of that, right? But they invite constantly Lauren and Cameron, the black woman, white man. There's more evidence. As you go forward, there's 9 total married couples in the history of the show. 4 of them are interracial, black and white. There's more evidence to me. The show starts out in Atlanta. This was in Atlanta. The first season is based in Atlanta. Let me show y'all the racial makeup of the people that they brought on the show. Let me show y'all this. Give me a second here. Let me pull this thing up. This is the cast of the first season, right? This is everybody who was in what they call the pods, right? They have 2 black men in here. One of them is gay. 2 black men, one of them gay. Hold on. There's like an Asian person, look like a Middle Eastern. Like there's 3 black men. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 black women. So it's almost like they were guaranteeing that there was going to have to be some interracial couple going on here. And I'm not even saying that there should have been equal black, equal white. I'm saying that the cast should have been representative of what's going on in Atlanta. Atlanta is a majority, everybody knows this, majority black city. So for them to even pick Atlanta and make Atlanta look this white, but have sprinkles of black people, it's almost like you're guaranteeing that you're going to get these black-white mixes. Because we know that some relationships will be successful, some will be not successful, right? That's just part of the game. But doing it this way is like they're increasing the chances of some of these quote unquote successful couples being interracial couples, right? Just because you don't have a choice but to pick from whoever they put in front of you. Of course, you don't have to pick anybody at all. But the chances of you picking somebody go up, and you picking from the people that you have in front of you, that increases the chances that you will not pick somebody that's black, because there's the majority of the people you're picking from are not that. So I just feel like we need to, and I don't have no problem with interracial couples. My problem is with the propaganda of it. Even with the most recent season 10, they did it in Ohio. So I was a little invested because I want to see how they about to represent Ohio, because I'm from Ohio, right? There's a couple on there. They normally follow 6 couples outside the pod, right? Follow 6. But they picked the couple that was not chosen to be on TV. But because they were interracial, a black man with a white woman, they decided, let's follow them also. They expanded production just to cover this black and white couple. This, like I said, this couple didn't even get selected to be put on TV. They only followed them. They expanded production. And this is the only couple that ended up being married. No, not the only one, but the only one that's still married right now that made it to the reunion married. Black man, white woman. They didn't even go to Mexico. They sent them off to Malibu, California somewhere, because the production didn't even have 7 rooms. So they sent camera crews off to another location to follow people that wasn't really supposed to be on the show, just to show an interracial couple. That's just what I think. That's what I think. Now, the part where I'm saying what I think they did it because their whole goal is to promote interracial, not the goal, but there's some propaganda going on around promoting interracial couples. That's the part that's my opinion. What's not my opinion is that this couple was not supposed to be on the show. That's what they said. That's what the show people put out. They said we originally did not select them to make it to the TV. It just so happened that the people who didn't make the TV, we went and followed them somewhere else. They have never done that in the history of the show. There are other couples that come from people on the show. They never sent the camera crew to go follow him somewhere else other than Mexico or the little apartments that they put people in, right? They only did it this time. Why? Another thing that I feel is evidence towards what I'm saying. There was a young lady on season 10, the most recent season in Ohio, who went on a podcast and said when she was in the pod, she asked every single person that came to meet with her on the other side if they voted for Trump. Because if they voted for Trump, that was an automatic red flag. Not a red flag, that was an automatic deal breaker, right? And she said she asked every single person that, and she was knocking people off her list if they said they voted for Trump. They didn't show that on the TV show at all. That didn't make the cut. That didn't make any cut. So the fact that she went through every list and asked every single person that, did you vote for Trump? And they didn't put a single one of those dates on TV. And then after we know what we know later, which is they did show another person, his name was Alex. They showed that he openly said on the show that he supported Trump fully. That means they didn't have a problem with the Trump stuff. It sounds to me like they only had a problem showing a black woman knocking white men off of her potential suitors list if they were Trump supporters. To me, that goes more into the interracial couple propaganda, right? It's like we don't want to show black women turning down white men because of their political ideologies. Let's not show that at all, right? Because they didn't mind showing a white man supporting Trump because he had a white girlfriend, right? He was meeting with a white family with his white girlfriend, white fiance, and he openly said, yes, I would vote for Trump. I didn't vote, but I fully support Trump. That was okay. The black woman telling white men that she can't deal with them because they voted for Trump, that's not good for the TV show, right? So I feel like, and I've seen somebody have a hypothesis that this was, they cut it out the show because they didn't want to show anybody supporting Trump. So because they did show somebody else supporting Trump, I think it was because they don't want to show black women turning down white men because of their ideologies. That's my thought. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on that topic. Love is Blind is interracial couple propaganda. Okay? Just what I think. And Ohio is ground zero for interracial couples. I don't know if y'all know. There has to be more black-white couples in Ohio per capita than anywhere else in this world. Not the world, in this country for sure. Because I know in the UK they got a whole lot of mixed couples, little African and African parent with a white parent. They got a lot of that in the UK. But in America, Ohio is ground zero for that. All right, I'm gonna stand on that. Okay. Hard pivot, but y'all let me know what y'all think about that, man. I watched Love is Blind. It's an entertaining show. I think the road is up, though. I think they're coming to the end, but it's propaganda, guys. It's propaganda. That's my assessment. Now, I want to talk about my hometown to pivot into another part of Ohio, my hometown, Youngstown. There is a news report that came out, and I just want to read it. If y'all don't mind. Let me read this. News report that came out. This is not a bad thing. This is about the school budgets. $3 million approved for Youngstown school renovation. Youngstown, Ohio, the Youngstown School Board on Tuesday approved spending approximately $3 million for a major capital improvement project at East High School, what will be called Youngstown High School come fall. So pretty much what's happening is this is the final push. They are closing all of the schools in the city. High schools in the city have been closed. There's only one public high school left that will remain besides early college, right? And it is going to the east side. It'll be called Youngstown High School. They're getting Cheney. This is Cheney's last year. In the past, they got rid of Rand High School. They got rid of Wilson High School. They got rid of South High School a long time ago, North. Like they got rid of all of these schools in the past, and now there's down to one left, and it'll be Youngstown High School. Renderings from the board show what the new entrance will look like. The renovation is twofold for beautification and to make the building more secure. David Harris of Canfield's DPH Architecture described the improvements to the board. He started with the new entrance and guard station with the face and wings of an owl, the school's new mascot. We've had a lot of fun working on it, Harris said. We think it's going to be the signature piece as you come up to East High Avenue. You will see it sitting on the hilltop. The guard station will also serve a security purpose. There will be gates, and this will be a manned guardhouse. Your school resource officer will be in there with security cameras and screens. That's SRO is security resource officer, school resource officer. The SRO can be there and monitoring not only his campus, but also security in other places as well. There will be traffic bars, he said. There will also be 6 frames on the side of the guard. There will also be 6 frames on the side of the guardhouse. In between each frame will be the name of 6 former schools. Major improvements will also be made to the entrance, highlighting an all-glass front, a Y that supports the roof, and a defender sign along the landscaping. We were really trying to highlight the entrance, make it feel like an entrance, bring an outdoor plaza feeling. An entrance. Oh God. An entrance. Okay. This damn thing is ringing. Okay, sorry about that. An entrance with landscaping, light poles, flag poles, Harris said. Inside, there will be an area for a student card access system. Outside, around the perimeter of the school, there will be new fencing. All of this will help the aesthetic and overarching. Hold on. All of this will help with aesthetics and overarching with security, but really make our kids feel important and valued as they show up for school on the first day, said Rob Kearns, chief staff for Youngstown City Schools. The $3 million cost will be financed using certificates of participation, which are a form of lease-based financing used to fund public projects without issuing traditional debt. Construction is expected to start in May or June and will be finished in August or September. Let me see if I can find the picture that they're talking about here. I'm gonna just tell you right off the jizz. As a graduate of Youngstown City Schools, I am not a fan of this. I'm not a fan of it. Oh God. Let me refresh this damn page. I'm not a fan of the money being used this way because hold on, man. Because if you have $3 million, there are things that there are better purposes to me. Like, of course, this is for capital improvements, right? And I had to look up and make sure I understood what's considered a capital improvement. Capital improvements are things that are supposedly like improvements to a structure that add value, right? So not repairs. You can't, like, if there's windows broken or a broken roof or something like that and you fix it, that's not a capital improvement. Like normally additions or things like this where they're saying, let's add a guard house to it, or let's change the facade of a building, stuff like that. That's supposedly an improvement, right? So this is what's considered a capital improvement. Now, the reason I have an issue with this now, from what I've been told, because I don't live there anymore, and I know this campus, though I used to spend some time there. What I've been told, the issues that happen at this school have nothing to do with like access to the campus, right? They don't have issues with people accessing the campus that shouldn't be on the campus. A guard station like this is what you would add if you have unauthorized people coming on campus and doing things, right? But if the issues are mainly with the students inside, like fighting or academics or stuff like that, a guard station does not keep people out that shouldn't be in there, right? So that's first. Secondly, I've been to high schools, right? Plenty of them. I've been to plenty of high schools for sporting events or other type of events. I have never seen a guard station at a high school. This is like something you would see at a government facility, like a military base or a jail or something like that. This is not something you would normally see at a high school. Now, maybe somebody can point out what other high schools have been renovated and they include a guard station like this, where the guard is supposedly like overseeing the security of the whole building. Normally that is happening on the interior of the building, not at the front like this. So I would like to know who or what school was the inspiration for something like this, because I don't think I've seen it before. Not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying that I don't remember seeing anything like this. They're adding more fencing around it. Around this school, there's not a lot of activity around there. So again, I don't know what like campus access they're trying to restrict, because to my knowledge, this campus has never had that type of issue. $3 million, this is what I say. If you're going to the school board and you're saying, hey, school board, we're looking to do something here and we need some money to do it. This is what I would say. A lot of people have been saying, yo, get some busing. I didn't realize this till a couple of years ago that Youngstown has gotten rid of their public busing, the school busing system. due to not having enough drivers. But anyway, this is what I would say. I would say because this is the only school now, high school in the district, a lot of resources can be put into this one school, and it's okay now because you don't have to worry about replicating it at other schools. There should be a computer science program. This is what I think. The money should be spent on a computer science program, and I'm going to show you why I say that and how much it will cost, right? With $3 million, they could fund a computer science program for a decade at this school. For a decade with staff, with separate staff for that program. They wouldn't have to take current teachers and make them staff for that. They could create a separate program for less with $3 million and make it last a decade. Let's look at this. Okay, some of the stuff that you'll need for. Let me close this out real quick. Give me a second. So things that you'll need to start a program, that type of program at a school, right? You'll need staff, of course. You'll need a facility, right? Let me pull this up because the experts have done this, and schools have done this already, right? So when I say, hey, what was the inspiration for this guard station thing? I'm saying who told them that this is something the school needed? But what we can do is find out how much does a program like this, what I'm recommending, cost? Okay, creating a computer programming program at a high school can range from a few $1,000s for a basic curriculum focused setup over $100,000 for a fully equipped specialized computer lab. The cost is primarily driven by hardware purchases, curriculum licenses, and teacher training. Let's look at this. Technology and hardware. This is the largest expense. A classroom set of 30 laptops can cost between $15,000 to $30,000. The advanced labs with higher performance machines can significantly exceed this amount, right? Let's look at it. Curriculum and software. Specialized computer science curricula like Project Lead the Way, PLTW, can cost around $2,200 per year with options to combine programs. Other professional platforms such as Code HS can range from $3,000 for smaller groups to over $30,000 for fully supported full options. Right? Let's keep reading. Teacher training and personnel. From $5,000 to $20,000. Investing in professional development for teachers to teach coding is crucial, with training sessions often costing thousands. Renovations and infrastructure, $10,000 or more. Upgrading classroom electrical infrastructure and adding dedicated network hardware may be required. Cost saving approach. Okay, so then they have like a lower budget way that you can do it, right? As you can see, most of the stuff that we just looked at, if you could total it up, comes to less than $200,000, right? So that's less than 10% of that $3 million. But that's even, I would add a little bit more to that because you want to do a little nice. If you're building a computer science program, I think you can spend a little bit more on the startup, right? The startup, and then salary is the only thing you need to maintain it pretty much going forward. So with startup, you have the construction cost to pretty much change one of your existing spaces into a dedicated like computer space or computer lab, right? So let's say 30,000 on those renovations because they already have the space in the building. They really just need to get furniture and things like that, right? They need to make sure that they have the plugs and the outlets in the right places, and they need to get furniture. And guess what I did? I went and did this. I went and marked up the pricing for the furniture. Look at this. Let's go through it. I got all this stuff sitting in the cart right here. Just because I want to make sure that people know that I'm not just throwing numbers in the air and saying that this is possible. I'm showing you Youngstown City Schools can have a state-of-the-art computer science program and really put our kid, not there anymore, but I grew up there, went there, right? Put these kids on a path to be able to compete in the landscape that we currently live in, right? And stop keeping our kids behind all the time. $23,000 is what's in the cart. And I could calculate shipping to probably come up to about $24,000. This is the teacher's desk right here, right? $1,200. The teacher's chair, $400. This is 16 computer chairs for each student. That comes up to $4,000. This is a cabinet where you will lock up all the laptops at the end of every day. $700. This is a massive 12-foot long by 4-foot magnetic sliding dry erase board, right? This is the one you will see on a college campus. This is state of the art. This is a great, amazing tool to have. It's not even a smart board. I prefer these over smart boards, but that's just me, right? $5,000 for that. These little stools. So there'll be a collaborative space. If I'm designing it, there'll be a collaborative space. So when we work in tech, and I do, a lot of times there are group settings that you have to be in, right? It's not all sitting at a computer coding. We have to be in meetings and we have to do planning and designing, right? So that's where you have a section for these tables over here, these hexagonal tables, right? And you'll put 4 of these stools at each one of these tables, right? So these stools are $350 each. They come up to about $5,500 for total. These tables are $500 each. They'll come up to around $2,000 total, right? And then you'll have the tables that they would normally sit at when they're doing just classwork. These are about $600 each, and you'll need 8 of them, right? Coming up to around $4,500. And I went through all of it, and I figured out everything you'll need for a classroom like this. That's less than $23,000 before shipping. So with shipping and everything, you're probably looking at $25,000 just on the room itself, right? $25,000 plus, let's say they spend $20,000 to $30,000 on renovations. You're looking at $50,000 to $60,000 on the startup for the room itself, right? Then you have to get your PCs. You have to get your PCs, right? So what I did was price up. What I priced up was a nice, powerful Intel laptop, right? These are Lenovo laptops with a nice GPU in it. Nice GPU and monitors, right? 27-inch monitors for each station. So we going big. Like I said, I want to treat these kids the right way. I want these kids I want them to feel like what it would feel like had they been going to college for this, right? And they should have that opportunity. So let's just say I got 5. Let me put 1 in here, and then I'll just multiply it up. I'm thinking each class, I'm aiming at each class size being 16 people per class, right? 16 people per class, okay? So we're looking at, we want a laptop, we want a monitor, right? And we'll have a docking station at each space so that they can, plug up, have dual monitors, right? So if we're looking at 13, let's call it 1350 per station, right? Per station. Let's multiply by what I'm calling, we want to have 16 stations, right? 16 workstations. That comes up to around $22,000, right? It's $22,000, but I want to have a couple reserve laptops. So I'm thinking 20 of those laptops. So we'll do 21,000 plus 1,100 times 4 more. Okay. So we're looking at 27,000 to have some reserve laptops. We'll have 16 or 17 monitors or whatever, right? So let's just call it $27,000, right? So that's 27,000. This is all startup costs, right? We got 27,000 plus the 60,000 for the room and the furniture renovation. So we're looking at, what was that? 87,000, right? And that, also I priced up some MacBooks too. You can go MacBooks if you want them to go that route too. But, you can stick Lenovo and you have a good docking station, everything like that. So we had 87,000, right? Is everybody comfortable with that? Everybody comfortable with that? We're right around 87,000. What else do we need? We need our curriculum. The curriculum is going to be let's call it 2,500 a year. Here's the curriculum. Let me see here. The PLTW is a computer science curriculum for people in school ages, K through 12, right? They have a high school program. Okay, computer science curriculum. You'll pay these people for this curriculum. They have pricing on here somewhere. Let me scroll. Where's it at? Here you go. The computer science pricing, the annual participation fee. So a high school program could be a combined max. So the high school program, $5,400 per year, right? So this is a recurring cost. So for this and for salary will be recurring costs. But our startup is around 87,000. So you got $5,400 for the year, right? $5,400 for the year. Look at that. computer science. They also have other ones too. I think this is a no-brainer to me, right? Youngstown should be investing in something like this. For the $5,400 price, the high school program, right? You get unlimited licenses, so you can have as many students in this program as you want. Access to curriculum and updates, end of course assignments, right? For high school, customized and friendly support, full suite of distance learning resources, access to national community to share and learn from more than 83,000 trained teachers and administrators, right? So if we're having problems solving an issue, we can go in the forum and ask, hey, can anybody else figure this out? Can you help us? We're trying to learn this. Our wide range of program implementation options give you the flexibility to bring PLTW to your district in a way that best meets the needs and interests of your pre-K through 12 students, educators, community, and schools and community. If you are considering integrating STEM at an earlier age, focusing on career and college preparedness for your high school students, or empowering your educators with high quality, now how they messed that up. High quality learning experiences. We have flexible options to support your organization at every level. Again, this is just my assessment as a person that works in tech, as a person that went to Youngstown City Schools, that remembers what it was like and wished that there was better programs and things like that, and actually ended up going to a better program, Youngstown Early College, and seeing the difference between what we had access to versus what the other schools had access to. This would give Youngstown a competitive edge. You already have kids that are lacking due to not having programs like this. The first time our kids are getting exposed to certain things is when they academically is when they get to college. That should not be the case. Youngstown has gotten rid of so many different programs, and now it's just what's left? What's left? So besides that, now we have to look at salary. What are the salaries for instructors in this space? Look no further. I'll pull it up. And actually, they get paid less than I thought they did. I'm going to be real. Okay, so computer science teacher salary in Ohio. The average in Ohio is $62,200. The average nationwide is $65,000. Okay, personally, because it's Youngstown, I think you got to sprinkle a little bit more seasoning on top of there to entice people to come and want to work in the Youngstown City School District. I would suggest taking a teacher, somebody who's a licensed teacher in Ohio, sending them to the training, right? What did they say the training cost was? Because there's a specific way you have to learn how to teach when it comes to this computer science stuff, right? The training for teachers is from 5 to 20,000, right? So let's just say we spent 20 to send 2 instructors. Like, let's say we spent 20,000. We want to take 2 teachers and go teach and have them learn how to be computer science teachers, right? So we're talking about 20,000. Let's say 20 or plus thousand for travel and all this other stuff, right? Send 2 teachers, and I would starting salary would be 75 a year. That's me. I know there's separate budgets for teacher salary versus like programs versus capital improvements, things like that. However, once you have consolidated this thing down to one high school, that should increase the flexibility in spending, because now you don't have to worry about allocating funds evenly to programs all over the city. You have one high school that you got to focus on. Early college gets their funding in a different way than the rest of these schools do, right? So you don't have to worry about that. You got one high school you got to worry about. You can pay these people $75,000 each for each teacher, for each computer science teacher. And okay, so no, not 75. You got one teacher. I would say you have one computer science teacher, and you have one staff member that's above them that just run the whole program, right? Manage personnel, curriculum, stuff like that, right? So you'll have a teacher, and then you have the program director, whatever that looks like. Pay them $90,000, whatever, right? So you have this one teacher, and then you have the director. You're looking at $160,000 in salary per year. Like I said, $3 million would cover that for 10 years or more. Honestly, it'd be more. But if our startup cost is 87, we're going to say 87,000, right? Startup cost is 87,000. And then we take 90,000 plus 75,000, which is what I would consider starting salary of the teacher and the program director, plus 5,400 for the curriculum, right? That's 170,400 per year. Multiply that by 10. Oops. Multiply by 10, you're looking at 1.7 million, right? That's a little over half of this 3 million you spent on the security watch station to turn this high school into a semi-jail. That's my words. We're talking about 10 years worth of funding for a computer science program with two dedicated staff members, right? Most of these schools that have these type of programs do not have dedicated staff members. What they do is incorporate it in with like a science class or something like that. I'm designing this program with dedicated computer science staff, okay? 1.7 million is what it will cost you in my plan for 10 years worth of program. Let's just say we can't afford it anymore after 10 years. At least you got 10 years worth of computer science high school graduates at Youngstown City Schools. But I would find it very hard to believe that they can't find funding to keep this thing going, because like I said, they just found $3 million for fences and guard station with an owl at the top of it and all this type of stuff. You know, you don't need to spend that type of money on a perimeter that has never been a problem before. The school has been around almost 20 years. When has the perimeter of the school ever been a problem? I don't know. If it has been a problem, somebody let me know. But ain't we talking about a school that don't even have like its own football field? Don't they have to travel to play other places? Talk about capital improvements. I mean, anyway, 1.7 million will get you 10 years of funding for this program, right? Plus the 87,000 that it took to start it up. You're talking about less than 1.8 million to start and operate for a decade, right? And then let's say every 8 years, you're gonna have to replace those computers. You know, computers won't last that long. Not maybe every 6 years. So every 6 years, you have to spend, what was that? Every 6 years, you got to spend $1,200 on 20 laptops. Every 6 years, you're coming out of $24,000. So like I said, you get a decade out of this. You have bought 2 rounds of computers. You're less than 3 million. And I think that brings way more value to the Youngstown City School District than a guard station with an owl at the top. I'm not knocking the guard station with the owl at the top. I'm saying that if y'all have $3 million to spend and y'all are only having to distribute this money to one high school now, and you did special financing to even get the money. So it wasn't like y'all were just sitting on a surplus and said, hey, we got extra money. Let's find something to do with it. You had to finance it through special means. Why not do something that's going to be valuable to the students? Putting a guard station there is not valuable to anybody. Honestly, that's me critiquing some stuff that I don't have anything to do with. But because I feel like I should be invested in the future of these students because, like I said, graduated there, come from there, and would like to see more kids go the computer science route, engineering and all this type of stuff. There's so much money to be made. Imagine you have a bunch of little computer engineers running around Youngstown at age 20, 21 years old, making tech salaries, but living in Youngstown. Come on. Even living in Youngstown, if you make $80,000, you would be bringing a lot of money into the economy of Youngstown. But if you talk about competitive tech salaries out there in the world for engineers, you're talking about $100,000+, $120,000, $130,000 for tech professionals or computer engineers or software engineers. But living in the city, like they never had to leave, they got a remote job and they can live there, make that type of money. You will boost the entire economy. This type of capital improvement does not boost anything. If anything, it would make some people feel worse about their condition. Really. It'll make some people feel worse. That's just me, man. I think $3 million gets you a 10-year computer science program. But, that's just, That's just me. Hey, there are people in the city right now that can help you design this, consult on it. I'll consult on it, whatever it is. But please get some programs for these kids. Okay. There is an interesting concept. Let me go into my Women's History Month segment real quick before I even get into let me dig deep into my woke bag. Let me get into my Women's History segment. Shout out to women, shout out to black women specifically. It's Black Women's History Month right now. Let me take a swig. Let me take a swig of water. Hannah Ellis is who we are going to discuss today. Many of you have never heard of Hannah Ellis. I said Ellis. Hannah Elias. Hannah Elias, let me be respectful and say her name right. Many have never heard of Hannah Elias, born 1865. Let's read about this young lady. Look at that picture. That's a good picture. You know, if somebody had a picture from that time frame, they had some money. People didn't just have pictures from back then unless they were somebody worth photographing. You got to understand that taking pictures was very expensive back then. So if they took a picture of you, it meant you were somebody. Let's read about her. Ignore that part right there. Let's get to it. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it now. Hannah Elias was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, one of 9 children of mixed-race parents. In 1884, at the age of 19, while working as a servant, she stole a ball gown for her sister's wedding. She was sent to prison. To support herself, she worked as a sex worker in a brothel in Manhattan, NYC. There she met John R. Pratt, a wealthy white man who was 45 years older than her. A few years later, Elias, who was already married, met Platt once again. This time, their connection developed into a love affair. He gave her money, paid for her divorce, and appointed her as a boarding house manager. Later, she moved into a 5-story and 20-room mansion in Central Park West, purchased for her by Platt, who continued to shower her with gifts, money, and jewelry, including his deceased wife's watch. He wasn't playing. In 1903, Cornelius Williams, a man who rented a room at the boarding house Elias owned and was in love with her, shot and murdered a prominent NYC figure who Williams mistakenly believed was Platt. The incident exposed Elias and Platt's relationship. Pressured by his children, Platt accused Elias of extortion of $685,000. As a result, Elias, then 39 years old, was arrested by 4 policemen who broke into her home. She was jailed but made bail of $30,000. When she gave her testimony in court detailing the true nature of her relationship with Platt, she revealed that she has 15 bank accounts, land and property worth $150,000, furniture worth $100,000, and many valuable jewels. Elias's list of fortunes and assets determine that she is one of the richest black women in the U.S. and probably the world. With no evidence of extortion, Elias was acquitted in court. However, Platt filed a suit against her in civil court, which also ruled in her favor. Now, keep in mind, this is a white man suing a black woman at this time, and she beat him, right? She also beat the case in criminal court. The story of the black prostitute who blackmailed her 84-year-old lover made the headlines. The local tabloids referred to Elias as Ebony Enslaver and the Negro Enchantress. And her neighbors, who until then thought she is Cuban or East Indian because of her light skin, realized that a black woman is living in their prestigious neighborhood. After the trials, Elias moved to Harlem. She purchased several properties and became the real estate empress of the neighborhood. She teamed up with the real estate developer John Nail, and together they turned Harlem into a safe zone for black New Yorkers. By the end of the 1910s, Elias left for Europe, never to return. Her death date is unknown. Now, the reason I think she is important in black history, especially women's history, she is the reason why Harlem was known as the black Mecca at that point. The Harlem Renaissance was built up because she went into Harlem, started buying up things and building things and making it safe for black people. Now, I know I went through her whole story because that was like a roundabout way of getting to it. But Hannah Elias ran through the white community. She was such a baddie, they could not resist her, giving her money and everything. She took that money and invested it in the community and built the community up for black people. Harlem before that was like a Jewish area. It was a dirty area, nasty. Nobody wanted to be there. It was ugly, right? She came through, cleaned it up. She polished the pig, right? And made it something serious. And the Harlem Renaissance happened because, and that's why they call it the Harlem Renaissance, right? And it's recognized as that by pretty much everybody. It's because Renaissance kind of means rebirth. people say Harlem Renaissance, but don't think about what was it before that it needed a rebirth, right? It wasn't a black Renaissance. It was a Harlem Renaissance. It was a renewing of a dirty ass area in Manhattan, dirty ass neighborhood in Manhattan. This lady moved to and polished it up, and now it's black, and now it's popping now, right? It was nasty and European before that. It's popping now because of Hannah Elias, a black woman that ran it up. She had 150,015 bank accounts in 1906 or something like that. Let me see. What year was that? She had 15 bank account, land and property worth 100. Her real estate portfolio was 150. And what year? 1903. Let's look up let's do a little inflation calculator to see how much that is worth today. Okay. I just said 1905. In 1905, 150,000 is the equivalent of 5.4 million today. So she was rich, right? She was rich. She had bread. Now this is what she had in assets, right? If she had 5 million in assets, this was a rich person. Okay. This is before some of the other people that we know of, that have been considered rich. And because of the state of the world globally at this time, she would have been one of the richest black people on the planet, not just women. She would have been one of the richest black people, period, on the planet at that time. Okay. Living in Central Park West. Only reason she left was because the white people was mad she was there. Right. And it's funny, right? Because they always try to say, oh, black and brown is all the same. Those people had no problem with her when they thought she was Cuban. They had no problem with her when they thought she was Indian. Right, from the country India, what they called East India, but actually Indian. When they thought she was that, it was all good. When they realized, oh my God, she's a light-skinned black woman, she got to go. There was an issue because she was a black woman, not because she was not white. Okay, so that right there should let you know, oh, it wasn't all non-white people that were a problem for these people. It was specifically black people that they had a problem with. Okay, even though she was mixed, she was a mulatto at that time. They didn't like that. Okay, so that is our woman's history. Make sure you look up Hannah Elias. That lady was a big dog, and she's the reason for Harlem's Renaissance. Okay, Harlem's Renaissance was built on her back. Not built on her back. She built it herself. Okay, very important figure in the history. Let's look at something real quick together. The transatlantic slave trade spanned from the late 15th century to the mid 19th century, involving the forced transport of millions of Africans to the Americas. The beginnings of it, they're starting it here in 1444. Portuguese traders bring the first enslaved Africans to Europe from West Africa, right? And then we make our way forward, right? So 1444 is when people start to be brought into this place. OK, now I come from the Black American angle. So when they start to be brought into the North American part, right, what's called America now, this was the mid 1500s. Right. Somewhere in here, they started to be brought from the Caribbean up to the Americas. But because this was when it was still pretty much run by the Spain or the non-English, they don't like to count it, right? But there were black people being brought from the Caribbean to North America before 1619, right? Almost like 100 years before that. But because it was run by the Spanish, they act like it didn't happen. Okay. See, now this here, 1607, says the first Africans arrived in English America at Jamestown, Virginia, right? But that's when they considered English, but it was before that. It was going on before. There was already black people here. So then by the mid 1800s, this is when abolition is going on and they abolish slavery unless you commit a crime. Once you commit a felony, then you can legally be enslaved, right? Okay, from there, you have what's called Reconstruction, okay? The American Reconstruction era, 1865 to 1877, was a transformative period following the Civil War, focusing on reintegrating the Southern states into the Union and addressing newly freed African Americans. Okay, so you get the 13th Amendment, you get the 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, right? That just makes it so, hey, these people have rights, treat them as such. Black people coming out of this period, coming out of enslavement, legalized enslavement in the South, exploded in success, right? Politicians, businesses, communities. Let's read real quick about black politicians in Reconstruction. Many black leaders during Reconstruction had gained their freedom before the Civil War by self-purchase or through the will of a deceased owner, had worked as a skilled artisan, or had served in the Union Army. A large number of black politicians came from the church, having worked as ministers during slavery or in the early years of Reconstruction when the church served as a center of the black community. Hiram Revels, the first black elected to the U.S. Senate, he took the Senate seat from Mississippi that had been vacated by Jefferson Davis in 1861, was born free in North Carolina and attended college in Illinois. He worked as a preacher in the Midwest in the 1850s and as a chaplain to the black regiment in the Union Army before going to Mississippi in 1865 to work for the Freedmen's Bureau. Blanche Bruce, elected to the Senate in 1875 from Mississippi, had been enslaved but received some education. Robert Smalls escaped enslavement, later served 5 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives. The background of these men was typical of the leaders that emerged during Reconstruction, but differed significantly from the majority of the black population. Let's look at some inventions by black people after slavery. Okay, you have 1890, you have the fountain pen by William Purvis, who he pretty much revolutionized the fountain pen, and he invented this technology. Gladys West in the 1970s, she has mathematical modeling of the Earth's shape, became the foundation for modern GPS systems. The refrigerator, 1891, John Standard. He patented an improved icebox design that allowed food to be preserved longer, making early refrigeration more practical for households. Okay. Garrett Morgan in the traffic signal in 1923. Okay. George Washington Carver, peanut products and agricultural innovation, the early 1900s. 1930s and 40s, air conditioning and refrigerated transport. His refrigeration systems made it possible to safely transport food, medicine, and blood supplies. Yep, shout out to him. Remember, I talked about Charles Drew, who also helped with the blood transporting. Fire escape ladder. This is 1878. Winter's fire escape ladder improved emergency exits for buildings, saving lives during urban fires. Amazing. Granville T. Woods, late 1800s, known as the Black Edison. Woods developed an electrical communication system that made trains safer and more efficient. Shout out. Bottle caps. Okay, 1898. Their bottle cap design improved the sealing and preservation of beverages and food products. Okay. The commode by Thomas Elkins. His design improved sanitary commode, enhancing hygiene and waste management. Shout out. Sarah Boone and the ironing board in 1887. The lawnmower by John Burr in 1899. Burr improved the rotary blade design, allowing lawnmowers to cut grass more efficiently. The envelope seal by F.W. Leslie, late 1800s. Leslie developed an improved envelope sealing method, advancing mail security. Pencil sharpener by John Love in 1897. A pressure cooker by Maurice Lee in the early 1900s. Fire extinguisher by John Marshall. Marshall developed early fire extinguisher, advancing fire safety practices. The elevator door by Alexander Miles in 1887. What is this? The lawn sprinkler by John H. Smith in 1897. Programmable remote controllers in the mid-20th century by Joseph Jackson. Helicopter innovations by Paul E. Williams in 1962. The mop by Thomas W. Stewart in 1893. Folding kitchen table by H.A. Jackson in the early 1900s. The guitar by Robert Fleming in 1886. The mailbox by Philip Downing in 1891. Doorknobs. What? The doorknob. Dorsey's doorknob design modernized household hardware in 1878. The shoe lasting machine by W.A. Dietz in early 1900s. Okay. This is the reason why I'm bringing all of this up, right? As you can see, so many black advancements were made during this time. And there was a time and period after slavery where we essentially did not have much of a criminal class of people. We kind of like did. It was a very, very, very small group. that would be known as like the delinquents. Even though white people wanted to criminalize us, it wasn't that we had a class of criminals. They would observe black people and then make rules against the things black people were doing. Right. So we had a very small criminal class of people. But over time, as more and more they criminalized us, and as the more and more we got used to being in the hands of the authorities and detained, we started to take on certain behaviors. But that's not what I'm talking about here. There was a time when there was a strong sense of urgency, right? Because we have been in this subjugated, extremely oppressed position for about the last few hundred years, right? So when we first get out of slavery, we shot out of the gun like a bullet, right? And the gun being enslavement. We shot out like a bullet, right? Of course, not everybody went off to get educated and start businesses, but there's a lot of people that went off to invent things. They went off to become politicians. They went off to become educated, become educators, spreading the knowledge. So a lot of them went off to become teachers. This is the first thing a lot of black people did out of slavery. They went off to become teachers. They went to these different HBCUs. At the time, they weren't HBCUs. They went off to university or college back then, became teachers. They learned how to train other people. They learned how to teach other black people. That was the first thing a lot of them did. Then a generation after that, then you have a whole lot of people. By the late 1900s, a lot of those people that went to become teachers in the 1860s and the 1870s, by the 1890s and the 1900s, they were teachers, and they were teaching all of these little black kids about math, science, reading, writing, social studies, sociology, psychology. They were teaching them about all this type of stuff. So then that group went and shot off and became some of the greatest inventors we ever seen. Now, something happened though. Now this is me. This is now where my theory starts to pick up. Something happens there where it seems like, so then you have like Black Wall Street is built up, right? It's destroyed by the 1920s. So that should tell you how much growth has happened from 1865 to 1921, right? There's already communities all over the country where there's black people doing international business at a very high level, right? That should tell you what's going on. You had Durham, you had Greenville, you had Auburn, you had places in LA, you had places in New York, Philly, Boston. There was pockets of black people doing international business. Okay. Virginia, all this, right? Ohio, all over the place. There was black people, these groups of black people, right? That would be similar to like a Black Wall Street. Okay. That took 50 years. So it felt like, okay, we can figure this out. We can catch up. There's a pathway to closing the gap on all this 100, 200, 300 years of oppression. There's a way to close the financial gap. There's a way to close the education gap. And we are on track to doing it. So even with them destroying what they destroyed, we're still on pace to do it, right? Something happened around the mid-century, the mid-1900s. And it seems like we just, I don't know if we started going backwards or we just completely stopped running the race that we had. And I found a concept that explains it perfectly. And this is what I believe happened. I believe that after a while, it started to get too easy, and let me not say easy. It started to feel like, oh, in world history, normally people will stay, even when they're not quote unquote enslaved, they will still be like the bottom of the bottom barrel and be poor for hundreds or thousands of years. Like, people think a lot about the transatlantic slave trade, but people used to be enslaved for thousands of years. Or they used to be the bottom class for many, 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 many generations. Like I'm talking about like literally 1,000 years. Like it'd be 1,000 years of this shit or more, right? In human history, I'm talking. With us though, it's like, well, we went the political route, and by like 200 years, it was done from the legalized slavery, and then beyond that, we started to catch up within a 50 to less than 100-year period. And it's kind of like we got laxed and we felt like, oh, this was so simple that we don't have to fight as much as we were fighting at some point. And then we started to say, well, let's be integrated. Let's be around them more. Let's be friendly. Let's not treat it like a fight anymore. Let's not treat it like a race anymore. Let's not treat it like a competition anymore. We're good. We're so good because it wasn't that hard. We caught up too easily. Let me explain now. This might sound blasphemous to some people, but I have to read this. And I came across this because I think that collectively what we are dealing with in America, specifically in America, and I think it stretches a little bit globally, but I'm gonna say specifically in America, right? The global black consciousness and American black consciousness is suffering from what's called the Yerkes-Dodson law of arousal and performance. Let me read this. Yerkes-Dodson law, the Yerkes-Dodson law is a psychology principle stating that performance improves with mental arousal like excitement or alertness up to an optimal point. Beyond that point, too much arousal causes performance to drop. Think of it as an inverted U curve. Low arousal leads to the boredom and poor results. Moderate arousal boosts focus and efficiency, and excessive arousal leads to stress and mistakes. I think this is what we're a victim of right now, right? Let's read how the law works. The Yerkes-Dodson law describes the relationship between arousal and performance, showing that a moderate level of mental or physical alertness produces the best results. In psychology, arousal refers to a general state of readiness and alertness, driven by factors like excitement, focus, or mild stress, not just feeling nervous or anxious. Performance improves as arousal rises, but only up to an optimal point. After that, too much arousal causes it to drop. This is known as the inverted U model. The curve shape depends on the task. Complex or unfamiliar tasks are best tackled with lower arousal, while simple or well-practiced tasks often benefit from higher arousal. For example, a little pre-exam tension can sharpen focus, but overwhelming anxiety can make you forget what you know. This is the curve. This is what they call the U curve, the inverted U curve. Okay. Boredom. See, this right here where we call optimal level. This is where I am saying black people were from 1865 to 1950. We were right here, firing on all cylinders. Right? Beyond here, I think arousal went down. When we started to find things that felt good or comfortable, drugs, alcohol, when we started to find things that felt good or comfortable, we went back down here. Right? We went back down to this way. The arousal level went down. Let's keep going. Practical examples. No, let's go past practical. Let's keep reading. Links to psychology theories. How does it connect to stress theories like fight or flight response? The fight or flight response is a surge of sympathetic arousal at moderate levels, often called eustress. Attention sharpness and performance improves, matching the rising side of the inverted U. When arousal becomes excessive, it's distress. Prefrontal functions like working memory and flexible thinking degrade, producing tunnel vision and more errors, the falling side of the curve. Practical read. A little time pressure can help you lock in, but panic pushes you past the peak. Okay. How does it relate to motivation theories such as self-determination theory or drive theory? Drive theory fits well-learned, simple tasks. Yerkes-Dodson refines it by adding the decline at high arousal, especially for complex or novel tasks. Self-determination theory explains quality of motivation, autonomy, competence, and relatedness tend to keep arousal in a productive, self-regulated range. Controlling pressure elevates anxiety and risks overshooting the peak. Okay. Research evidence. The Yerkes-Dodson law has been interpreted in different ways since it was first produced in 1908. In the original paper, Robert Yerkes and John Dodson studied discrimination learning and dancing mice. The mice had to choose between a white and a black box. Entering the white box delivered a mild, non-injurious electrical shock. The black box did not. With very weak shocks, the mice took many tries to meet the learning goal, picking correctly 10 times out of 10 for 3 days in a row. As the shock got stronger, they learned faster until the strongest level where learning slowed down again. If you plot shock strength versus number of tries, where fewer tries equals better, you get a U shape. If you flip that to overall performance where higher equals better, you get the familiar inverted U shape. This went against the author's simple, more stimulation equals better learning expectation. Second series, easier task. Yerkes and Dodson then made the choice easier by increasing the light contrast between boxes and tested 5 shock levels. Now, the strongest shocks produce the fastest learning, and the weakest produce the slowest, more like a straight increase than a U shape. Third series, the harder task. Next, they made the choice harder by reducing the light contrast and tested 4 shock levels. Here, a moderate shock, the second weakest, led to the best learning, again suggesting a U-shaped link between stimulation and learning rate. Okay, then there's a bunch of studies from there. Situations where performance does not, okay, so there's a lot of different, this is psychology and it goes back 120 years. So there's a lot to read from here. However, this is what I'm like, if you look at this chart here, this is the inverted U, right? And it is showing you what the Yerkes-Dodson law says. I believe this is also, if you want to look at Black American history and Black history in this country, at the beginning, and I'm saying low arousal in 1865 only because a lot of Black people didn't feel like they had a choice. It's kind of like we'll get free when they let us free type of thing. A lot of people, some escaped, some fought back, but the majority of them didn't, right? So here is where you will see what I call 1863. And here's Reconstruction, right? Once we start to get, we try to go do things and we get pushback, that's where the arousal level starts to build, okay? And it gets hard. As it gets harder, we are up here. We have Black banks, we have Black insurance companies. This is the mid 1900s. We have insurance companies, we had colleges, we have everything. Most of the Black athletes went to Black colleges. Some went to the military. People starting to own homes. A lot of people getting married, keeping families together. A lot of this is going on right here, right? 1950s, because we still feel like we're in a fight, right? We still feel like this is a fight. This is a race. We have to keep on firing at all cylinders. Somewhere around here, when you start to introduce regular drug abuse, regular alcohol abuse has always been around. But for a lot of the time in our history, our people in the mainstream look down on it, right? Alcohol and drug use was like an underworld thing. And the people that even did it a lot, they kind of tried to hide it, right? Even though you could tell, oh, this is a drug user. You could tell. But a lot of that was like an underworld Black thing. That wasn't like our mainstream biggest stars was out there talking about, hey, this is a bottle of this. That wasn't how they got down, right? I'm talking about in Reconstruction up to 1950s, 60s, okay? That wasn't a regular thing for us. Once you start to like normalize and start making drug abuse a celebration type of thing, I believe that is the beginning of the fall. And I don't think we went to high anxiety. I think we went back down this curve, the boredom or apathy side. Okay. That's why I think arousal level went back down, because it's almost like we stopped realizing that we were in a fight. We stopped realizing we were in a competition here. We stopped realizing that we were fighting our way out of something. We went back down here. Now it's like, oh, it's corporate. It's corporate now. I'm cool. Oh, I got this 20-year job at this factory. I'm cool. Oh, my kids, they go out to school all day. I'll see them when I see them later on. I'm good. It's like it's like everything. It's like we stopped realizing that there was a war going on outside. Nobody's safe from. We forgot. I want you to do this. If anybody thinks that there's a better psychology law or concept out there that explains what is going on with Black America, you break it down to me. This is the one that I think fits the best, right? It's the one I think fits the best. The Yerkes-Dodson law of arousal and performance. Okay. That's all I got for y'all, man. Y'all, please make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment your thoughts below. Make sure you do the survey in the description. Make sure you show all love and support, screen record, do everything you got to do. I appreciate the love and support. The people that were supposed to reach out about the people who I picked to win the shirts, they did not. So I'm going to send out the one for Lady Love's Life, and you're going to make sure she get laced up. We're going to post that picture up, and I appreciate the love, man. Peace.